Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It is another Wednesday night. This is Axel Raven coming to you live from Minnesota. It's a little chilly here. The sun keeps setting a little bit earlier and earlier lately, but that just means it is football season, which is great. We're here to talk about the Simulation Football League minor league teams. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. We've got a great show tonight. This has been something that's been planned for the last maybe month or so. I've been really excited about doing this. Lots of great opportunities out there for you all in hopefully doing something like this for many of you. But anyways, let's jump into it. Let's introduce our two sort of special guests, special co-hosts, that kind of thing. So we're going to switch over here. All right, so we have, in replace of Daniel this afternoon or this evening, this week, Justin Reside is stepping in. Thank you, Justin, for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome, Axel. I know Mr. Danny Wright's enjoying this vacation, so I'm happy to step in for him this week.
Absolutely. And then we have a special guest, Stephen Hacker. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Axel. How's it going?
Doing good. Living the dream.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So yeah, we have you here, Stephen, because you have a certain special role, a certain thing that is very invaluable to every single game that we watch, right? So could you explain or describe your title, your role? What is it that you do? What is it that you're bringing, and what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Sure. So my official title is Director of Game Day Operations. And really what I do is I bridge the gap between stats and the broadcast team. The Director of Stats is Mark Lopez. The Director of Broadcasting is Mike Daggs. But basically what I do is I help and assist Mark make sure that the stats team is ready. They kind of understand what the broadcasters are looking for in terms of like knowledge and info in the games, things that are relevant to a call, and then it's more so troubleshooting, getting people trained, helping people be on time, and answering questions. Really that's the big thing at first is a lot of people have questions. How do I do? What do I do? And it's just reassuring, hey, we've all been there, and we can all get through it together if you just ask, and so ultimately, the SFL is evolving and growing a lot. So at one point, I was a lot more involved as far as like doing the stats myself. Now it's more of, again, making sure people are where they need to be. The processes that Cam has as far as how the production goes together, things like that. I just can jump in a pinch and really help just through a lot of experience. And so safety blanket, if you will, is really why I have the game day ops role. But I help in broadcast. I really help wherever I can. Liam Crowder and I, the web developer, not developer, the head of web for us. I don't know the right term, but Liam and I have been working on stuff recently. So it's not just stats that I work on. It's really whatever the SFL needs in terms of what you're seeing on game days in your every day-to-day SFL experience. I try to be involved in those experiences for you guys.
Awesome. I'm sure off camera to your left or right, you've probably got a hat rack for all the different hats that you're wearing.
It's something that I enjoy. I like to be involved in a lot of different things. One of the things that I feel like I'm really good at is I don't want to be egotistical here, but like building teams, setting up processes and then giving people the resources that they need and then to make it their own.
Awesome.
Their own thing, right? And so that's a lot of what we've done in the stats department is, recruiting and retention was a big problem. It still is a big problem. But, we've gotten a lot better. It's something that we don't have games go unstatted anymore, or very few go statted. Team owners have taken it more seriously in recent seasons, and that's been a big help. The more people that take it serious, the more realistic and the more better represented we are. And if you watch the SFL playoffs, you got a good glimpse at what we do, behind the scenes. And we found a way that's really exciting, for us to be able to get our stats and the work that our great statistician like Justin, the work that they do. Now we have a way to integrate it into our production and into our broadcast and into your eyes and into your hearts and stuff like that, which is really important to us. If you're going to be doing the work, we want to give you recognition and we want to give you credit. So, Mark had a big part in that, getting that worked into the production of the camp. And so, I want to give him all the credit in the world for doing what he does. He does a great job. I'm more of a mouthpiece, I guess. Mark gets busy. He's a college student, prefers the spreadsheets. I much prefer, like I said, team building, interacting, building relationships, trying to help people, even if it's not stats forever, at least give them an avenue where they can be productive, where you can make a contribution to the community. And it really matters. It's an hour and a half of your time, but it really means something to the hour and a half that you're there. It increases, enhances our broadcast so much whenever we have live stats there.
So yeah, that perfect segue into the title. What I've sort of been calling this SFL Stats with Stephen Hecker. Even though you do so much stuff, exactly what you were describing, the variety of different ways that you're able to then sort of empower people to do their best work and to get out of their way when you need to, or give them exactly what they need, removing roadblocks, etc. But really, right now, why I think this is timely is, like you said, there's a need there for stats during games, during game day, and that kind of thing. And I personally, it wasn't until July, after the draft, after me going through my own first and only minor league season, that I didn't even know like stats was a thing that you could do as a minor league person. I assumed it was, similarly with broadcasting, I knew that was a little bit of a thing because Aaron Alexander stepped into that. I personally don't feel like I have the greatest, not necessarily voice, but like, it's hard for me to think on my feet sometimes. So I've steered away from that myself. But so the idea of being associated with a professional team, or associated simply with the broadcasting team or the stats team, minor league individuals can get their name out, give back to the community in some way, and sort of show that, hey, I'm invested in this. I'm invested in teams, in willingness to give part of my time, part of myself to the community, which itself goes a long way, even above and beyond your overall value, right?
So much so, yeah, absolutely. And so, I think one thing as a team owner that's, again, we were always looking for the next general manager, the next head coach, right? And the league has grown so much that I don't want to say that there's a scarcity there, but roles expand, right? There are ways you can contribute that are maybe outside of the norm. I was having a thought earlier about, Andy Hamilton, the owner of the Vancouver Legion. His daytime job, he does photography for the NFL and other professional teams and stuff like that. So I was like, man, we kind of have a similar way to do that, right? Is if you were to clip highlight plays from a game, essentially, you're the videographer. You went and took the time to make the clip, and now you're able to post it to the SFL, tag the SFL in it. Maybe they use that clip on their official, social media pages and stuff. So, like, in a way, now you're a videographer. Like, there's a kind of a market there. Maybe it's a small market now, but if you work and put the time in and you get really good at it, you're going to draw more attention to it. Yeah. And so, there's always what I like to say is the SFL is an NFL RPG. And for us gamers, we understand what an RPG is. And so it's like, if you want to get into this, and if you want to think, oh, I want to be pro, I want to be NFL, whatever. Well, if the NFL has it, we have it. If you want to be a scout, you want to be a head coach, you want to be a quarterback, you want to be any of those things, we have those things. It's just, and it takes time, it takes effort. It's not just going to be laid out before you and it's like, oh, here, just do it. It's going to be easy. It's not a click of a button. You have to be sometimes creative, because we're all trailblazers in what we're doing here in the SFL. It's an online thing. It's an esports thing that we are the best quality. We are the best product, if you ask me. And so what we're doing is constantly trying to push the ball forward and find a way to be progressive and be better than the next guy who are on our tail, right? And so with that comes a lot of uncertainty. Sometimes you fall flat on your face with an idea, but it's necessary to fail and to fall flat on your face sometimes, because you can learn a lesson and grow from it, right? And you maybe took the wrong step this way, but now the right step is over here, because it's like, oh, well, that trail's on fire. I better go over here where everything's nice and clean, and there's no threats and stuff. But, sometimes you have to take those missteps, and that's one of the things that I love about the SFLs. They're not afraid to take that step. They're not afraid to be bold. Cameron does a great job. It's one of the reasons why I stick around and work so hard and put so much time in, is because I believe in his vision. I believe in this product, and anything I can do to help, leave a mark here is what I'm trying to do. And like you nailed it, everybody watching in the minors, there's an opportunity for you here to grow and to help and contribute and really do something great. You just have to want to be great and come out and help. And teams will notice. Other team owners, they look for people who are going to make their mark, and help the team, right? If you're a superstar, you're a superstar on their team, which is great. It's exactly what we want. You should want that. You should want teams to want you, right? And so it's just this is just a way, outside of coaching, outside of being maybe the star player on your team, this is a way for you to get a leg up on some people. If you're willing to contribute a little bit extra of your time, teams are looking for statisticians. They are looking for social media help. They're looking for help in other areas. If you're a beat writer, if you have interest in contributing articles or doing what Axel's doing here with podcasts or blogs or whatever, streaming, what have you, if you're interested in those things, those things will definitely get you noticed. But just try to err on the side of understanding that we are a community here. I don't want to say you have to earn your stripes, but it's definitely one of the things that we are a community that's built upon respect, and so respect is earned in a lot of ways, and so in a lot of ways you do have to kind of earn your stripes. But getting in and getting to know the community, we are a welcoming community, and so get to know us and make your mark. And if somebody's in the way, find a way around it, because early on in my time in the SFL, I ran into a lot of roadblocks. I joined the SFL wanting to own a team with Nacho, Luis Gonzalez, the co-owner of the Fort Worth Toros. And so, he and I joined wanting to own a team one day, but, we had to learn like everybody else. It's not a given. It's something that you got to get in, you got to earn and learn the ways. And so I think anybody can do it. It's just, how dedicated are you and how much work are you willing to put in?
Yep. Awesome. So I want to be able to pull the curtain back on what is it like to do these stats. You talk about statistician, game day ops, and things. What is that actually like? And so you've been gracious enough to sort of send me a link to like what I'll call the super stats dashboard kind of thing. That we can actually, you're going to help walk us through. What is it like during the game? How does this thing work? What's going on? Is it difficult for people to do? These are things that I'd love to, answer through the next, little bit of time that we have.
Sure.
All right.
I'll try to keep it short.
Okay. So I'm gonna switch over. So share my screen. We should be able to see. Yeah. So we've got this Google spreadsheet, this Google sheet.
Fantastic. Right. So this is what whenever this is shared in the game day channel. So each week there's a given number of games, and so each game would be assigned a number and statisticians and broadcasters. This form would be shared in each of those game channels with the teams already assigned. So you would notice Arizona, Florida, that's a SFL playoff matchup upcoming. And so this would be in the game channel, available for those statisticians and broadcasters, as well as the producer, Cameron, and everybody that would be needed to be in that channel. And so this would be, whenever you click on the link, here's what you see. This is the opening page. This is pretty much where the broadcasters are going to stop. The most relevant information to them is on this page. And you notice there, I love how you're scrolling around. That's perfect. You see the kickers down there at the bottom, as well as the punter, which not a lot of contract punters in the SFL. But we log it either way. There's also third down conversions as well as third down percentage. That's very important It's something that it can help a broadcaster understand the flow, maybe how a team is performing throughout the course of the game, as well as first downs gained. That can be really indicative. So maybe third down percentage is low, but they have a lot of first downs, right? So it's maybe they're converting first downs on first or second down and not getting into a lot of third down, a lot of third down situations. And a broadcaster can extrapolate that by looking at this sheet. Plays and drives is just telling you how many total offensive plays that team has had, and drives is the number of drives calculated, which we can kind of get into maybe when we get over to the tracking tab.
Sure.
But that's basically the information you're looking at. Again, all of these players are preloaded. It's something that's done before the game by Mark Lopez or myself. But it's something that it's simple for us to do, not complicated at all.
Sure. And so it looks like, from my view, I'm seeing a bunch of very late zeros. I feel like, so I do some development. I've done some things. Those get filled in a different way. And wondering if you could talk through. So how does this get filled in?
So that's going to be the Mark Lopez question, okay. And I hate to do that to you, but basically the way my spreadsheet knowledge, I'm a novice at best. Intermediate at best, I would say. But basically, the data is going to pull from one section of this spreadsheet, which would basically be the tracking tab. If you notice down at the bottom, there's a total stats, drive summary, tracking, and what you can see is user manual. If the statistician would go to that tracking tab, and then the data is going to pull from the input in that tracking tab, and that's the layman's term of what is happening. Now, how it's happening, the coding and all that stuff, the spreadsheet formulas, that's a Mark Lopez thing.
Gotcha.
Mark Lopez gets 100% credit for how this looks and how it functions and how it operates.
Awesome.
Tracking, if you would go to the tracking tab.
Absolutely.
And so this is where the statisticians are going to spend 95% of their time. And the way this works, let's say, okay, I'm going to jump into the sheet now. And if you would, let's say Arizona's got the ball, and I'm going to say it's first down, so DJ Moses is going to get a carry here for 2 yards. That sound good, Justin?
That sounds good.
And then it's 2nd and 8 now, so Ashley Jackson is going to throw an 11-yard pass to Donnie Hands, right? And so now, we got a first down, and you'll notice that the sheet is going to automatically recognize that it was a first down. And so that would be a basic sequence of how offense would work there. And so typically we have split the workload now into somebody typically will just cover offense for a half, and then somebody will cover defense for a half, which defense is just kind of to the right here. Of the offensive side. So, Axel, if you notice over the top, opponent oh yeah, there you go, you're having your mouse over. I was on the sheet still, so I couldn't see where you were.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, the opponent defense is where the second statistician will kind of be helping out. So, they'll notice, okay, on first down, let's say that the middle linebacker, Stephen Black, made a tackle, and they just input the number, and basically go to the next column. The tackle will automatically fill in. And so really what the defensive statistician, what they're looking for is if it's something like a tackle for loss, a sack, a fumble, they really want to log that, but the tackle, it pretty much does for them. And so we say that the defense is the much easier side. Typically, when someone is kind of dipping their toes in, kind of getting their first experience, we'll just kind of ask them to watch along the first time. If you feel comfortable jumping in on defense, jump in on defense, because defense is much more tolerable. Once the game gets going, sometimes the tempo can pick up and it can get a little challenging. But it's not bad. Again, that's why typically the more experienced statistician will naturally just kind of take offense just to kind of keep up with the pace.
Sure.
But there's some things that we teach once you're in stats, like how to break down the field and how to make the map much more tolerable. Like, I'm sure Justin knows all the tricks now. He's helped us quite a bit in the stats department. So, but there's things that once you get in there, we help you look at the game in terms of how you should look at it from a statistician's perspective. because you don't have to be perfect. So that's one of the things I like to tell people is like, I make adjustments all the time mid-game. You think it's easy to try to keep up with the 64-yard play whenever they're in the middle of a no huddle and you're trying to get who made the tackle, who even made the catch. Like there's so much information, you feel like you're on information overload. And so it's really not so bad. You can make up for it. You know that it was 50 plus yards, and you can make up for those yardages because throughout the course of the game, you're going to get an update. You're going to get some kind of indicator where you went wrong, right? That's like you're just panicking. That's worst case scenario. You're just like, whoa, I don't know what to do there, right? That's the worst case scenario. You just have to kind of guess. But the game will give you a way to correct yourself. We're going to teach you ways that you're going to know before the snap how it's going to happen. Not how the play is going to happen, but what formulas or what math is necessary to get you to the calculation you might need, right? So if you're 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line, if they get a first down, it's to the 30-yard line. That's exactly 10 yards. It's exactly what they need. So we kind of help you break the field down in terms of like how to do the math, not to panic, right? Like, because we've all been through it. We've all put the time in. We've all had those moments where it's like, oh man, deer in the headlights, what do I do here? But at the end of the day, we're a welcoming community. We're not going to snap your neck if you make a mistake, right? We just we want to be perfect because that's just who we are. But we really want to have this department take off, and we really need. We feel like it's an element to our broadcast that's really valuable and it's really critical to how we look on game days. And so, we strive for perfection, but we're going to help you get there. And at the end of the day, nobody's perfect, and we totally understand that.
Mm-hmm. And so
any questions on the tracking one, Axel?
Not questions per se, but just a sort of insight or realization that I really appreciate you talking about like the onboarding or scaffolding process of bringing new individuals that want to participate and want to learn this sort of on board. That it's not something you're not going to be forced to jump into the deep end in any way. And it sounds like it's really getting them used to the mindset, the way to think, and like you were saying, sort of the shortcuts and things to keep in mind to consider as the game's going by. And that's just, coming from a learning background, that's just something that takes time and practice. So it's, and like you said, you're not expecting these individuals. So if a minor player wants to come join and is interested in doing it, you're not even going to be maybe even sitting and doing the stats, but you might be over like looking at this tracking sheet right now while someone's doing it. So you can sort of see what's going on. And then you might move into doing the defense, and then you sort of move up through the ranks as you get more used to it. Is that right?
Absolutely. We always call the first couple go-arounds a shadow, right? Sure. We're just going to say, hey, shadow the game. And what we're looking for on that is the game day procedure is, you be in your chat 30 minutes before the game, you kind of hang out, you do your audio checks, you do your, make sure all your stuff's updated. No problems going into the production, right? So typically you check in about 30, 20 minutes before the broadcast, make sure everything's good. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I forgot where I was going with that.
No, that's all right.
And so you get into the chat, and I'm sorry, I'm completely spaced.
That's all right. Moving on. It happens. Yeah. Ultimately, there's the game day process. You're stepping through. It's not like you're showing up late to your own wedding kind of thing, stressing out. And there's going to be people that are there to support, answer questions. It's nice to hear that there's the game day chat. So if you're in constant contact, you're not just alone watching the football game unwind on Twitch with this in front of you. You're also in contact with the other statisticians, the broadcasters, perhaps the producers, and the entire background or the people behind the scenes. Right, there's a large team working on putting forth this production.
Absolutely, and it definitely is more than just Cam. And it's there's a lot of us, week in, week out. Mike Daggs does a lot of work to make sure that the broadcasters are prepared. Mark Lopez has to do a lot of work at making sure that these sheets are working right. There's you're not needed until you're needed, you know. But when you're needed, it's like the house is on fire and nobody has water, and it definitely can feel that way sometimes. But yeah, there's a whole group of us that we're really passionate about the SFL. We're always looking for more contributors. We're looking for more people that share that passion and really want to put out the best show possible every week. That's that's the ultimate goal, is to have the most professional looking product as we can.
Definitely. So yeah, are there any other steps or anything else that you'd like to share within the sheet for our audience?
Well, you noticed that I was making some adjustments there. It's because I was all obviously not perfect, but noticed that I had said that Ashley Jackson had made a reception instead of Donnie Hands making a reception.
Yep.
And so nothing really on this tracking tab. If you would click over onto the drive summary.
Sure.
And this is a tab that a broadcaster will typically reference after a drive. And so a score just happened, a punt, what have you, a broadcaster can easily click over and get a summary of the drive. And those will stack as the game progresses. So it'll be, drive number 1 will just keep scrolling down, and, drive number 2, so on and so forth. And that'll just auto-populate on its own, but it's a tool that's there for the broadcasters if they need it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would just click back over to Total Stats Individual, and we'll get a quick look at the how it pulled from tracking into the sheet. So it automatically recognized that Ashley Jackson is the quarterback, that she did complete a pass. Donnie Hands was that receiver who caught an 11-yard reception. DJ Moses has 2 carries for 5 yards up to this point. You'll notice that Ashley threw an interception targeting Donnie Hands. And over on the other side of the screen, you can see Stephen Black has a tackle, and Davidson should have an interception. Boom.
That's, like you said, Mark Lopez, the magician, doing magic in the background that links all this together. Is that the similar thing with the drive summary, that it just sort of takes all that content that the statisticians are adding incrementally in that tracking tab into the drive summary?
Yes, I believe that it's basically it's compiling that data. It's configured in such a way that it's able to pull it in such a way and spit it into a cell in that reference. Really great work. Mark has been working on this. I've been in 3-4 years.
Okay.
So this has been a work in progress. I think officially we've been using this for like 2 years. I think officially.
Cool.
If I recall correctly, but yeah, like it used to not have the teams on the side. We always had a version, but it wasn't as I like to say, this is very aesthetically pleasing compared to what we used to look at. And so, again, Mark has constantly put the work in. He really enjoys spreadsheets. He really enjoys stats. He too believes in what we're doing. He thinks that it's valuable to how game day works. We're also there, and we're unofficial as far as like league stats keeping goes. But in the event that data doesn't transfer right, it's not uncommon for Mark or myself to go back and manually stat a game again to make sure that we got everything completely accurate and right. And so very rare that does happen, but tools and resources like this make that job a heck of a lot easier.
Very cool. I had a question, and I blinked on what it is. It might pop back in. I don't know. I assume user manual, is that sort of just ultimately some how-to?
Take a look.
That's clicking there. All right. I clicked it. My computer's a little slow. Here it goes. All right.
I didn't like it.
There we go.
So this is we realized that the in-game, this feels a little overwhelming, or in all of the greatness that is the SFL and APF, we get some like, what just happened there? Like, what is going on here? Like, that was a blocked punt, but somebody fumbled and scored a touchdown. How do I stat that, right? And so we try to give you an idea of, hey, calm down. The stat sheet only cares about certain information in certain ways, and so as long as you just get this, it's going to spit it out as best as possible. So this is that whenever things feel kind of weird, you're not sure how it's supposed to look. This is a quick reference on the fly in the middle of a game. You have that resource.
Sort of like a crib sheet kind of thing, or cheat sheet.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, cool. And I remembered my question. So a lot of this stuff, for newcomers to the league, newcomers to watching the shows, the broadcasts, they may just assume that the broadcasters themselves are tallying, on a piece of paper with a pencil, things that are going on and such, and not realize until later on when the stats truck or production is being mentioned. There had been maybe previously not as much value or visibility, I guess you could say. There's value, just not realized value to the work that is actually happening behind the scenes. But I think recently with the playoffs, and more recently also with the minor league season and broadcasts, there's that ticker, the stats ticker and things. And does that data from that come from this sheet?
The ticker that popped up during the playoffs above the normal scoreboard, that was pulled live from this sheet. So
Okay.
if you want, you can scroll over at the little right arrow there on the tab section or the workbook section.
Yep.
And click on one.
Okay.
So this is what when the graphic pulls up, this is where the magic happens, right? This is where it's pulled from our stat sheet and onto your screen.
Sweet. So yeah, I mean,
Yep.
that gives such a, for those that are behind the scenes, that are doing all this work, another great way to demonstrate that value that you're bringing, the work that you're doing. This is sort of the simple way that everybody, it's not just the broadcaster that's describing what's going on or using the tools and understands the value of it, but then this just brings it to life even more. Readily accessible statistics while you're watching the game. That is really cool. I'm really excited to see where this goes and what else, what other ways that this information that you guys are doing can be pulled up in different ways. What value it can be wrung out of it.
Yeah, and that's again, you talked about it not being visible, and I couldn't agree more. I felt for a long time, the stats department is probably some of the most passionate people in the SFL as far as caring about what the SFL looks like in terms of game day. Really, really unsung heroes in there, people that care about the league and care that we look our best and we're presented our best all the time, and their efforts have been paramount in getting us to this point that we were able to put a little extra effort in. Right, Mark had a little bit extra free time due to some of the help that we got, and we were able to make a push to get our product onto the screen. Right, not that we weren't trying before in the past, but in terms of volume and workload and things that we can handle and manage, this became manageable. It became something that we could put time towards and do, and here we are now, and I think that it's going to pay off big for us in terms of in terms of recruitment, and it's a really big asset for us. We work hard and we want to be recognized too, and it's great to finally get some recognition.
Definitely getting that back.
Go ahead, Axel. Sorry.
No, it's getting that value that you guys are creating directly into the hands, the eyes of the viewers, which is, they're the ones that for lack of a better way of saying it, they're the ones that are paying the fees, that are really bolstering the excitement, and really this is about the fun of these games, the broadcast.
Absolutely. One of the best moments for me is that pregame, whenever you're in with the broadcasters, and you really get a chance to get to know them and get to know some of your fellow community members, right? The other statisticians, or Mike St. Green is in there with Cam whenever he opts in for production. Cam's in there. People kind of pop in and out, in terms of how game day goes, and so you get a chance to kind of meet some people, talk to people, and that's really fun. The mood is typically really light going into a game because the broadcasters are trying to have a good call, so they're looking to, shed all the bad vibes. They want, a good feeling going in. So, typically it's a light atmosphere, having fun, cracking jokes kind of stuff, and that's a great time, right? Then during the game, you get a good call from your broadcasters, and you're hearing it live. I mean, you're literally on the call with them as they're experiencing it. So I always thought that was a really good time. And then, in the game day chat, you get to kind of see the notes, what the producer, commish might be telling the broadcasters about, hey, game update here, check this out, this was going on, so you get to kind of see all that stuff as it's happening, and just kind of being a part of it, was for me was the biggest draw. Was just kind of getting to be a part of what goes on to make the production happen was really cool to me, and it to this day is, again, why I really like doing it. It's extremely valuable because, coming from a time that we didn't have those resources and tools available and always happening for us in the game, I think you really kind of, get a chance to appreciate it, because you didn't have it at one point, and I think it would be like taking away broadcasters, at a certain time in the SFL, there were no live broadcasters, and to think that now would be crazy. You just no way that you don't have broadcasters, and so we're working to make the stats department the same way. We want people to think it's crazy that we don't have live stats. That's paramount to our production, because it is. I noticed in the chat, Axel, that some people were asking, what happened if a generic player makes a play, and if you click on the tracking tab, I'll show that I logged a generic player. So generic players made a tackle here, 2 tackles, and also a generic receiver made a 20-yard catch. And if you'll hop over to the individual stats page, in terms of broadcast, what's relevant information to a broadcaster, calling out a generic, what we're going to call here a generic player, would not be top terms. You would kind of more so breeze over that player in a way. You would say receiver made a nice catch. You would more want to highlight the quarterback. You would try to bring focus towards a player. And so in this scenario, you'll notice that down at the bottom, others is an option, and others has 1 reception for 20 yards. And then on defense, it's the same. You'll scroll down to the bottom of defense, you'll notice that there's an others category, and it logs, it logs some tackles for them.
And then similarly, I'm sure drive summary, it just gets incremented as if this is like all the players, everything inside of it.
Right, and so if you want, I'll go over and I will say, okay, that was a 20-yard touchdown catch, and now Florida has the ball, and they're going to take over, and they're going to hand the ball off to Valetsky, who's going to take it for a 75-yard touchdown, and right back to DJ Moses, who's going to get a 3-yard carry. Now let's look at drive summary.
It looks like it is loading. I can see the little loading bar on the top right, that it's probably doing its thing on the back side. There we go. Yeah, I'm seeing it now. Florida has the ball. Play for 0 yards right now.
Yeah, it's going to need to update a minute.
Yeah. And with streaming, my internet is not super fast. So, but yeah, that's really fascinating. Just how magical this is. Just simply using the Google Sheets. That is awesome.
Yeah, and it's great how we found a way to get it, onto our production. That's to me is the most amazing thing. Is to me this is normal, everyday procedure. We've been, like I said, doing this for 4 or 5 seasons, and so to me, doing this in the background is nothing new. It's it's just business as normal. But actually getting the visibility on it and people more aware that we exist has been a huge thing. At least for me, and for the rest of the group, it'll help because again, contributing the time is a great value, but we also we have a certain level that we want to have every game covered, right? And so it kind of sucks sometimes because people feel like I really want to help, but I also want to spend time with my family, and we're always going to say go spend time with your family. We'll find a way to make it work, right?
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things that we realize that we have that heartstring there, and so we do our best not to abuse it. But we also try to protect those people, and that's what I hope getting some visibility will do. It'll get more people interested in stats. And it'll be one game a week, and hey, everybody's happy, and we'll see you next week.
Yep.
Justin, on the other hand, who likes to do 4 games a week, has been a great, a big part of that. A big reason why I've had some free time this season to work on some other projects, and why Mark has been able to work on some projects. But again, that's kind of it. Justin reminds me a lot of myself when I joined.
Mm-hmm.
He was just, give me more work, give me more. And I'm like, just slow down. He's like, no, there's not enough work you can give me more. And
That's funny.
I really like that about him. But, it's also one of the things that's like, hey, man, pace yourself. There's a lot of football left to be played. We operate basically 10 months out of the season or out of the year. So, I mean, we got 2 seasons plus, if we can get some help and get some more bodies into the stats, we can make SFLm a thing. There's no reason why we couldn't, but other than needing help, right? And so that's the biggest thing. And again, being in the stats room, it is something that teams are looking for. You'll notice more teams now are putting that into their recruitment when they're filling out the player needs or team needs in the Discord. You'll notice that they're asking for statisticians, which again 2 seasons ago, maybe 3 or 4 teams were asking for that. So, more and more teams are beginning to realize that it's important, that they need them. So if you have that experience or if you have that ability and you want to be involved in stats, it can definitely increase your value as a player to these team owners.
Awesome. Anything else you want to show inside the Google Sheet at all?
I think we covered all of the base level. That's really it. Again, I kind of showed you how you can kind of adjust, and I made a mistake in statting Ashley Jackson with the reception. Just went back and changed it. Right, no harm, no foul. It's nothing permanent. There's nothing you can do to this sheet that we wouldn't be able to go in and fix. Again, I'm more of I've been taught how to fix things. I don't necessarily understand how it all works, so the formulas to make it all work. I just know that, hey, if this is happening, here's how you go in, here's what you're looking to fix, right?
Yeah.
And so, there's nothing that you can do as a user to really make this sheet inoperable for us. If you get in that moment and something's not right, we're always available in the game channels. If you just, whenever a problem arises, you just get, at Hacker or at Mark Lopez, and one of us will be there in 30 seconds or so, and we'll be there to help you out of the pickle.
Yeah, and I'm just imagining, both there's like kind of 2 sides to the coin. You were describing like how exciting and sort of adrenaline filling the being part of the live production itself is. Being part of that, being in that present moment. There's like this energy that's hard to quantify in some way. And even if you do 1 stats game per weekend or something and being available for that hour and a half that you're putting forth, and then if you ever watch other games, you can, like, if you're watching them with your wife or your kids or something, be like, I know how they do that. I did that for this other game, or things like that. And so you can start to describe the stuff that you're doing and the people you're meeting and like how it is, how it works and stuff, possibly. And like the joy that comes from being able to demystify something that seems so magical. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And so, some products, the more money you spend, the more makeup it is, so to speak, and so we're at a point where we're doing it all ourselves. And so, I feel like this is something whenever I look at our broadcaster quality. Now, sometimes, there's mic disparity, right? Some people's microphones and setups are better than others, whereas, it still doesn't take away from the fact that they're passionate, right? You can hear in our broadcast that we love what we do. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think that's like across the board, like what the SFL is really great at is like, it's all internal with us. We're not putting a lot of makeup on everything. Like, this is our work and we're proud of it. And, once we get there, maybe a little makeup will come in later, but for the most part, I feel like everything we put out is always fantastic. And whenever Cam updates the scoreboards, the score tickers, which is basically every season, if you haven't noticed.
Yep.
But it's always better, always. And so I think that that's something that we always do. But even whenever I think back on it, it was never bad either. Like whenever I started, I can remember we were like broadcasting in like 720. And now we're high def, we're 1080, no problems, and so like it's stuff like that, and just how much better we continuously get, and it's really fun to be a part of that for sure. And if you pride yourself on what you can contribute and the work that you can do, well, the stats department can definitely use somebody like you.
Awesome. How would somebody get involved with this? Would you recommend them simply reaching out to the coach, then be able to connect with you, or reaching out to you directly in the Discord? Anything?
Oh, by all means, you can DM me. Stephen S. Hacker is how I'm in Discord, or Mark Lopez in Discord. We can get you lined up if you want to get with your coach in the SFLm. They'll definitely know how to get a hold of Mark or myself. And so, by all means, however you need to get to us. You can ping me in Gen Chat if you want. I'm not one of those people that'll get mad if you ping me. Just try to keep it at a respectable hour.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Any last words for this little segment?
No, man, I had a really great time. I really enjoy your show. I think that it's a great concept. It's really important that we all kind of get a feel and get our toes wet, right? And sometimes there's so much information, there's so much going on, we don't know where to look. And this, I think, is a great way for everyone to get a chance to hear it for themselves, not necessarily have to read it or go find it. They have a resource, and so I think it's a great thing that you're doing, Axel.
Awesome. Thank you. And you're going to stick around when we talk through a little bit of last Thursday's games and maybe look ahead to tomorrow's games.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's have at it. Okay. So we'll remove the title for that, and we'll bring up. So last week, we saw Madison battling Boise. We saw Tacoma at Salt Lake City. We saw Memphis then at San Jose, and then Lexington at Ottawa. It looks like overall, 3 out of the 4 visiting teams this week had greater success than the home teams. Last week, it was actually all 4 home teams were successful. It's interesting. So with game 1, a game that was close, near and dear to my heart, Madison in the very last, I want to say, 17 seconds or so, with a long, 25-yardish pass over to Charlie Baker to land in the end zone, was challenged by the review booth and was originally called out. And was challenged was challenged by the by the booth to be successful, which put Madison ahead. I don't know if Stephen or Justin, if you guys were Justin, you were the caller on that one, right?
Yeah, I was on the call on that one. Yeah.
How would you think about the game? What was it? What did you think about it?
I thought it was an amazing game. Both teams had an equal chance to win. I thought Boise was going to pull out the 14-10 win, but when that last play came up and that review happened, I was like, wait a minute, is this a touchdown or not a touchdown? It's like, which one is it? And when I went into review,
there was a lot of excitement there.
Yeah, definitely a lot of excitement, and a whole lot of stuff happened.
Stephen, did you catch this game at all, or which game did you called with Rochelle, didn't you?
Yeah, I was on game 4.
Gotcha.
This game was going on. I would be in traffic for game 1 and 2. I would have been around for game 3.
Okay.
But we've also been getting ready for game 4 with Rochelle. So gotcha. I didn't really catch a whole lot of the action, but I did look over at the website, simulationfl.net, and then I went to the minor league tab. I did see that, Xander Moon, it was honestly Madison's first game of the season, had the week 1 bye. So Xander Moon was 33 or 48 for 215 yards, did have a passing touchdown, but 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
So it looks like Boise played pretty well defensively, just from a stat line, if I had to put it. And And I'm a little personally invested in that Boise team. Robert Perry Jr. is there at Boise, and Aaron Alexander does some offensive coordinating and stuff like that for them. So it was tough. It was definitely a tough one. Had to talk to Robert after that one, and let him know, hey, it's all good. You're the leader. You got to do the right things. You got to show the team the vision. So put the work in, and the good things will happen. So even whenever things aren't going your way, you got to be strong. So.
Definitely.
They'll bounce back for sure.
That's good to hear. Yeah, Xander Munitz himself, in chat during the game, he was a little like, sorry guys, sorry I keep letting us down, but we were behind him like, you know what, it's every down is a new chance to succeed and that kind of stuff. So I think when it counted in that last touchdown drive was really nice to see that there was something there for him. Again, like you said, there was no reason that Boise couldn't have simply pulled this one out. There was, it just happened to be that Madison caught that ball. This again, APF is so hit or miss with luck sometimes that, and that's the excitement. Like it's the swing of the game going back and forth. So that's it was. My heart goes out to Aaron.
Axel, on that catch, was that catch on Dante Grimm by chance? Because if the game-winning catch was on Dante Grimm, that would be like poetic justice. Like, because all of the Twitter talk, and he did take the L like a champ. I'll give him that. Yeah. All of the talk, if that had happened to him in the game, I mean, that would just have been, poetic justice. And the SFL definitely delivers those kinds of moments, man. It's like sometimes the game knows. That a big moment is in the air, and it definitely delivers. Van Lacey, the LSG Lone Star Glory game, where they allowed the Glory to wear number 4 in honor of Evan Lacey. Don't want to get into all the details, but basically, it was a special moment for the Glory, and Evan Lacey had like a game-stealing interception to end that game. So it was a big moment, and it couldn't have been written. It was just perfect in the moment beauty that is the SFL. Yeah. This game will give you that. You know what I mean? If you hang on, your moment in the spotlight will definitely come. I know I've had a couple of big moments as a receiver, unexpected both times. I had 2 huge games, chased the single game record, trying to take down the great Damon Simeon or DR Sim, but I couldn't quite get there. Fell a yard short and 7 yards short. I almost got there 2 times, but. Great moments. The Reggie Streeter 425 yards when he broke the single game record. Man, think about that moment. Michael Churlo and I were on that call and how much fun we were having because that record was broke in such a weird way. The game happened in this way where there was just enough time for the opposing team to make a comeback. So they weren't pulling the starters out, but there was a big enough lead that it felt like the game was kind of over. So they were just feeding Streeter the ball like crazy, and he needed like 11 yards with 30 seconds left, and they needed to get the first down. It was like a third and 9. They needed 11. He needed 11 yards to break the record. The other team only had 1 timeout, so like all these scenarios, right, for it to like work out perfectly. And Streeter gets the first down, breaks the record, and it was just such a great moment. It was really, really cool to be a part of it. So again, hang around, and those moments definitely can happen to you. They happen every single week.
Yep. And sadly, it was not Dante Grimm that it was scored on. If it was, you probably would have seen memes from myself or other people in response to him. No, it was Don Fletcher, the cornerback, was the one. Yeah. Okay. So. It was a fun game, and really we all get to have a lot of fun. There's the camaraderie that comes with some of the competitive, smack talk, street talk that comes. So it just makes the games that much more fun, of the results and some of the crazy antics that happen. I was watching Curtis, the Simulation Nation podcast last night, and Coach Craven had one of the, I think it was Gare's play from week 1 where he was running to the end zone, and then 1 yard in front of it he just decided to run out of bounds, like literally stopped, turned, and ran out of bounds. It was just so weird, but those things happen, and it's it's the things that, if you're on that team and that happens to your team and it's a negative thing, you just got to shake your head and laugh about it because there's nothing else to do except that.
I can't remember who it was. Somebody fumbled celebrating on their way into the end zone. Oh man, I feel like it was Colin Hart, but I feel like I'm throwing Colin Hart under the bus. Maybe he's just fresh in my mind because he's a free agent. But I feel like it was somebody who broke a long play. They turned around to celebrate, and they got tackled. And in the process of getting tackled, they tried to go to the end zone and they fumbled.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it was either McKenzie or Phoenix Jones. I don't know which one.
It might have been Phoenix Jones. Phoenix Jones, maybe. That could be it. Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, it definitely sucks when it's the bad side too. But that's part of the greatness. Again, if you have no reaction whatsoever, what's the point?
Yeah.
That's the point. Whole point is to be involved and to care and for it to matter in its own way. And so, the good and the bad, they're both possibilities. So, be prepared for both, definitely.
And if games played out exactly how we game plan, then what fun is this game anyways?
Oh, and it's so hard. I'm glad you brought up game planning because, each week when we game plan, we get to make changes. And so you're game planning from last week's film. You're game planning off of what they've shown, not what changes they can make. And so it's a constant hair pull. Sometimes you just have to learn teams' tendencies. What are they comfortable with? What do they like to do versus what are they showing? And so there's some mind games that go into it, but it's definitely you can feel like you made all the right changes and you didn't account for something new, And so it's game planning is a whole other beast.
And being an assistant on Madison right now, running full game sims, I could run 6 games and win by 10 plus every single game, and then you get to the actual game itself, and that's the one time that it fails. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's just so much variables in it. That's you shake your head.
But and again, a lot of that comes down to maybe they made a change, or maybe it could be that you misscouted something. Sometimes a cover 3 week is really something else, or sometimes you can get it wrong, right? Again, nobody's perfect, so you just got to continue to grind, right, and work with the information you have, and sometimes you nail it, man. Sometimes you get a home run, sometimes you strike out, and that's life, that's football, that's SFL, that's everything.
Yeah. So we saw Game 2 saw Tacoma overtaking Salt Lake City 41-22. Game 3 saw Memphis arriving in San Jose, taking away the win with 31-17 against them. And then the last game, Lexington at Ottawa. Ottawa pulled, that one was a really interesting one that Lexington was really up even at the half, and then Ottawa came back. Is that right?
Yeah, Lexington was in control of that game all through the first half. It was 24-0, I believe, going into the second half, and looked like Lexington was just going to walk to a victory. And Scar Patterson had something to say about that. And Scar Patterson matched the 24 that Lexington put up in the first and gave him a 27 to walk out of there with the win at home. And it was, a fantastic performance. One of the better SFLm performances I've seen from a quarterback. And Patterson absolutely took over that ball game. One of the rare, one of the few times in a minor league game I've seen a quarterback have that kind of composure, and really a great job by Ottawa's coaching staff too. I think they had just enough in their playbook to let that comeback happen. I think Lexington was really rigid in that game. They were this is what we're going to do, and it just didn't work. Which is okay. That's a strategy. But in this one, Ottawa at home. And you got to give all the credit to the staff and Scar Patterson for a great win.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, either that night, Thursday night, or on Friday, in chat somewhere, someone had mentioned that the coming back from a 24-point deficit to win is actually a record or tied a record for a game.
Tied the record. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's again, it was phenomenal. One of the best performances I've seen from a quarterback at that level, and it was really, really great to watch. It was great to be a part of the call. It was Rochelle Colston's first call as a broadcaster, and so I felt like that was a great game for her to get on her first call because in the first half you could definitely kind of feel that 24 to nothing kind of thing, and so sometimes it can be a beating because you're trying not to be too mean and you're trying to stay on the game and just call it like it is, right? And so when Ottawa started creeping back into that game, you could really feel the excitement level really ramp up, and she was really getting excited. And it's hard to power through that. Somebody that's called quite a few games, I get lulled to sleep too. It's definitely tough, and so it was great to kind of be a part of that because Rochelle and I are such great friends.
Mm-hmm.
Off the field, outside all that stuff. So it's really fun to just kind of be there with her in that experience and in that moment, and to get to be on that call with her because it was a heck of a ball game, one of the great ones.
Awesome. And yeah, speaking of Lexington and that game, in chat we have Isabella Blackwell, the I want to say strong safety. She had her first interception in that game, I believe. Sadly, they weren't able to pull out the win, but that is SFL life. Yeah. So cool. All right. So next, let's preview next week's games. We'll do a little bit quicker. We're actually just at time right now, but we'll go a little bit later. If that's all right with you too.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. All right.
Sorry to keep you so long, Axel.
No, that's all right. I think it's been a great learning. There's so much to learn about the stats, and I think it's so fascinating. So I appreciate the time there, and game 1 tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. We've got Boise visiting Annapolis. Annapolis coming off a bye. Week 1, Randy Squarebush really ran right over the team they were playing. I can't remember who it was, but I know that he had.
It was Ottawa.
Ottawa. He had a great performance against them. So I'm curious on if either of you two have any thoughts on if Doug Brown and I know Stephen, you said Boise really has that you have a strong connection there with their coaches and team. Who do you think, looking at this sort of the two teams side by side here, who do you think is going to be maybe taking the W home?
If I had to say who's going to take the W home, I really like I like Boise. I think Randy is a nice back over there for Annapolis, but Doug Brown is one of the better backs in the league. I think the slight quarterback advantage can really help Boise in this one, even having to play on the road. But last week I was saying that Boise has a chance because Don Fletcher is a pretty good cornerback. That's a good value at a corner at that level. And I look over and I see Stuart Zomalia is also pretty good at 64, and that's a good enough value to take on a silver level wide receiver at this level. And so I would be really interested to see how this Boise defense handles the two receivers from Annapolis, but give me Boise in this one.
Gotcha. How about you, Justin?
I can't decide because I'm calling that game tomorrow, actually.
Sure.
Good, Justin.
If anything, the people who will be winning are the viewers. I like to think. So I honestly, my wife is the tight end Morgan Applewhite over on Annapolis, so I've got an investment there. But I'd love to see Aaron come back as OC and win as well. So to me, either way the coin lands, I feel like it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would say it's typically whenever a coach takes a loss pretty hard, that next week they typically rebound just because they usually they take the loss hard, they put the extra work in because when you're a coach, your game plan, the rest of your team is. They know who's responsible, right? And so whenever things are going wrong, they whether they're saying it or not, people are kind of looking at you, right? They're looking for you to kind of right the ship. And so when you take a loss personally and you really feel it, it's kind of that gut check moment. And I think a lot of times most coaches, whether they're in the SFL or in the SFLm, I think they respond the right way. And so I would say, again, Boise's probably going to bring out their top shelf this week.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. On to game two. So for game two, we've got Madison visiting Memphis, and that's tomorrow at 7:20 Eastern, 6:20 Central on YouTube, the SFL YouTube channel. Here we've got Mitchell Witters, the left guard, actually just turned silver on this last progression, which is for a guard for an OL that I think he's the only one in the minor league. So I think that he should be someone who should be extremely excited about getting drafted this December. I can only assume. And looking over at Memphis's offense, they look pretty stacked with GP Wells, always a dangerous back, and then with Israel Adams and Terrence Weary. Again, for myself, simming and practicing and trying to find plays that work, for this team, and things. Those two wide receivers were really lighting it up oftentimes. So I'm excited to see what the results of this game is. Stephen or Justin, what are your thoughts on this game?
I think this game should be pretty even though you have most of the offense in bronze or getting gold or bronze right now, so it's like pretty even. Even to me, it's like unless Madison makes a mistake, I say it's going to be a 10.5 win for the River Runners.
Gotcha.
Oh, you put a point spread on that. I like it. I see the two Memphis wide receivers, 6'5", 6'4". Those are some big body receivers out there. But Laquan Smith at 6'1", 205, and at that rating for a cornerback, that's pretty nice. But I kind of look around outside of the two corners. The rest of their defense needs a little bit of work. But for Madison, I look over and immediately Mitchell Witters is screaming off the screen for me. So definitely will be interested to see how the front five for Madison plays, if they can keep Xander Moon upright, and if they can help out Marcus Duncan get some yards on the ground. So that would be the two areas that I'm looking for is how much help can the Memphis defense give their team, and how well does Mitchell Witters and the offensive line help Madison?
Yeah, and with GP Wells, again, like I mentioned, huge weapon over there on Memphis. And on Madison, we've got sort of our two anchor second-year veteran, Michael Lister at full free safety, and Adrian Blaine over at strong safety, sort of, I'm hoping, containing GP Wells so that he doesn't get like the huge, long, 80-plus yard touchdown runs. And then an up-and-comer with Nathaniel Diggs. He was on our show a few weeks ago at hitting 63 for inside linebackers, pretty solid. Be able to get out there and make plays. We've got brand new Robert Cherry. This is his second game. Looking for big things from him. I mean, I guess it's everybody's second game, but just coming in week one, the transition from week one to week two, seeing big things for him. All right, we'll move on to game number 3. So game number 3, we've got Ottawa pitted against San Jose. This one starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. So I've got little red markers here next to new players that just came in this week since last Thursday. So on Ottawa, we've got a new outside linebacker, Juan Mississippi. Very creative name there. Filling out their middle front seven, ideally. And then we've got a free safety, Andrew Hubbard. And then on the opposite side, we've got Tyrone Clay at cornerback for San Jose. Again, do you think Ottawa and Scar Patterson are going to come out with a vengeance and maybe start the first half off with some solid gameplay?
I think they struggled a little bit, and it wouldn't surprise me to see a little bit of that to start this ball game out as well. Mm-hmm. San Jose made the championship game last season, so unless they had a complete turnover coaching staff, you would expect that they're able to step out and compete with their roster. And so I would definitely say that Ottawa may be feeling a little bit of a high off the win, and they may come into this game a little slow. But if they had anything like what they had last week, they're definitely can compete in this game. If I had to put a win on this one. I'm gonna lean towards Ottawa, even on the road. I'm just what I saw last week out of Scar Patterson. It made me a believer for sure.
Yeah, same here. It's like I got Ottawa by at least 10.5 because when Scar Patterson gets his groove on, he gets it on. It's like obvious. And me being me being an Ottawa alumni,
We won't hold that
Oh,
against
seriously,
you.
there's no homer going on right now.
Yeah. So we'll dub this game 3. What is it? How Scar got his groove back. All right. Yeah, I honestly, I think it's all up to the Cavalry's offense to prove whether they have it or not, and I think that's going to be every single down they've got to prove that they're going to take control over this game. If they don't, I think it's more of a coin toss at this moment, and yeah, that's how I see it. Cool. All right, we'll move on to game 4, our last game. This one's at 9:20 Eastern, 8:20 Central. This one, sees Lexington, who got out fast, had a great first half last week against the not perennial because it's not every year, but so far per weekial. But every week we'll see how Tacoma does. But they are set to overtake their this game. Really, I mean, it's up to them. They feel like, sorry, I'm getting a little jumbled. It feels like they have control and are able to then, if they can play the game that they want to play, they're going to be able to play that game. Like it feels like they are in control of the games that they're playing. They got a new tight end, as if they didn't need any additional offensive weapons, in Christopher Dean coming in, and then Lexington got its first defensive lineman, a defensive end, Corey Dobbins, is coming on board. What are your take on this, Stephen?
Okay, so I had a chance at Lexington last week, so Lexington's definitely going to have to play better than they did last week. They were on the road, but they're at home this week. But looking over at Tacoma's at their roster, it looks pretty tough. Top to bottom looks pretty solid. And so for Lexington, what you have to do is you have to come out and perform like you performed in the first half, but the whole game against Tacoma. Just to give yourself a shot at this one. I can't quite call a winner or loser in this one because I am going to be the broadcaster on this one, but I thought I could share some insight and some opinions on it. So definitely looking at their defense for Tacoma, just 2 linebackers, nobody really in the front 7. But Lexington's running back, not quite, I don't think, ready to handle a full load on the ground, and so maybe playing right into their strength is Tacoma looks ready to take on the pass, and I think Lexington's going to be forced into that a little bit in this ball game. So Bozeman's going to have to play a really clean ball game to keep Lexington in this one. And then the defense, for Lexington, they have a nice, defensive backfield. Isabella Blackwell, like we said earlier, got her first interception on the season, but Ty Woodson, I thought, played really, really well in coverage last week. And so if they can do anything to slow down the passing attack and maybe try to get them Tacoma to focus in on giving Brad Jones the ball, maybe they'll have a chance as far as not letting the game get away from them.
Yeah, I was going to say that in week 1, Tacoma battled Boise, which I think, like you were saying, has a really solid defensive backs and defense in general. But I think out of the 3 games so far, week 1, week 2, week 3, I think this is going to be the most stout defense that the Grizzlies' offense have had to face so far. I feel like it's pretty full. They've got a defensive lineman. They've got a pretty solid outside linebacker, and then with their 2 bronze cornerbacks, and then with newcomer Travis Arthur at free safety. He's been showing some really good things. I think he's had a pick in each of the games, week 1 and week 2, and then Isabella coming in having a pick last week, really strong at bronze there too. I think this is going to be the biggest challenge, I think, for the offense of Grizzlies so far.
So you're saying Brooke Beisel has a chance to play a big impact in this game?
Probably.
Probably, if they can keep it tight, that's one of those things. Having a kicker that's able to go out there and hit a 48-yarder with time running out.
Definitely, and if you can
In
get
those defensive games, they matter.
and again, if your offense can at least get you to like the 35, 30-yard line, and if you have Brooke, a bronze kicker out there who can get you 3 points instead of having to punt it, I think that itself, if you can do that a few times, I mean, you're already, recouping lost points that you would have left on the field. Justin, what's your take?
Yeah, I would say this is really like an even Steven game because you got a full stouted Tacoma offense taking on a good Lexington defense with the safeties having three combined interceptions between Travis Arthur and the one that Isabella Blackwell had last week. And then you look at the other way, it's like you have the Lexington offense taking on the Tacoma defense, and that's going to be where the two Bulls decide where the points are going to be in that game. Who's going to get the more points and let their kicker have more chances to get points on the board, and maybe even have a good overtime instead of how Tacoma's last two games were blowouts. So you got to look at it that way.
Yep, exactly. I think we'll see how it all plays out. It'll just be a matter of can the defense of Lexington hold the Grizzlies offense tight enough that they won't be racking up that big blowout, and can the Miners offense chip away and get enough points frequently enough to be able to keep up with that high-powered offense. All right. I'm going to move us on to our final little thing. So earlier this week, Hunter Norwood, who is a really awesome stats guy, probabilities, like a legit statistician with all sorts of... Yeah, exactly. He passed along to me, asked if I would be interested in having this. And this is sort of something that in the pros that they do pretty regularly is something called the ELOs. And it's actually, I thought it was an acronym for something, ELO, but it isn't. It is the last name of the person who created this probability system that teams use, or I think it was originally created for chess for two players. But they're able to apply it to teams and other sports. So they applied it to the SFLm using the first 2 weeks' data. And so as of this point, previous to week 3, it simulates 1,000 different seasons and comes up with a probability of, based on those 1,000 seasons that played out, where each team ranks. Sort of magic science, but there's some sort of actual science behind it. There's numbers and probability and things. So right now it looks like, sorry to say, Steven, Aaron and Garrett Jr. with Boise are sort of looking not as good as maybe. But again, this should just add more fuel to the fire for them. I know they're hungry. And then right now Tacoma's set at the top of this, showing that there is a 1 out of 4 chance roughly that they will be taking home the championship, based on these, at this state, week 2, 1,000 seasons being run. So this is sort of the breakout. Tacoma in first, Annapolis, Madison, Salt Lake City, Memphis, Ottawa, Lexington, and then not Sioux Falls, San Jose, and Boise finishing that off. Looking forward to seeing how this progresses and how this changes every week. This doesn't mean that you're going to lose. This just is a probability statistic, something that people like to look at and maybe based on betting or odds and that kind of thing. Don't think that your destiny is already set in stone, but instead go out there and grasp and work hard, and that will reap you rewards in extra W's.
And this is what we like to call bulletin board material, Axel. This is something you look at, and if you're Boise, San Jose, Lexington, Ottawa, any of those teams where you're seeing, no, I have no chance in this, you're motivated. You should be motivated to prove ELO wrong, And so it's just one of those. It's just one of those things. It's nice to have. It's fun to talk about, but it's not the end all be all. It's in no way going to tell you or going to predict what's going to happen. So. It's just Jack's data. No way trying to discredit what they do because they do great work. I really like reading the analytics that they provide. It's really fun, but no means is this the end all be all. So take it for what it's worth. Have fun with it.
Absolutely.
To me this is like us. There's only can make 4 teams in the playoffs, and there's 9, maybe 10 different scenarios, and that board right now is like we don't know where if the scenario is going to change every single week, like which 4 teams going to make the playoffs. It's like it's going to be a different scenario every single week when we get to weeks about 6 through 9, because all the scenarios can change in a week.
Yep, you'll notice that none of these numbers are 100%. So there's that other part is where the excitement lands, and I'm excited to see others. I want you all to prove each one of those line items wrong and flip the script on everybody. Coming up next week, in our Discord, it sounds like there's a lot of interest in putting together a weekly power ratings for teams. So I'm going to look at getting that set up, sort of in contrast to this itself. It's more of a subjective versus objective by the numbers kind of thing, but just gives people some fuel to the fire. Some things to talk about at the virtual water cooler on Wednesdays and Thursdays leading up to our games. That's it. I want to, thank you, Stephen, for coming in and walking us through demystifying the act of taking stats and being a statistician for the game day things. So really appreciate that. This video is going to be the VOD is going to be available. I also have been downloading them and uploading them to YouTube for perpetuity's sake, so that we can shepherd newcomers over to those if they're interested. They can get a little bit of that there. Justin, thanks for joining us, coming on this ride with me. Appreciate it tonight, and everybody watching. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Thanks for sticking out an extra 23 minutes or so. I think it's been worth. I hope it's been worth it. It's been worth it to me. I really appreciate everybody's support, and I want to see everybody get out there and get hungry after that win. I want to see all of the competitiveness in the SFLm general chat. So get out there and take it to each other. Any last words, Stephen or Justin?
Yes. Thank you so much for the last words. I just wanted to let all of the prospects, I saw that somebody had said we shouldn't call them rookies because they're prospects, so we'll go with prospects, but I wanted to put it out there that, you're only as visible as you make yourself. And while you may think we as team owners should know who you are, we do our best, right? There's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of things that are going on, and a simple, hey, how's it going? Here's my name, here's who I am, can go a long way in getting your foot in the door. That's been the case from the day that I got here. Just a simple, hey, how's it going? We'll show you and tell you everything you need to know. And so don't be afraid to reach out. Recognize that other people have a schedule, and just nobody's going to try to ignore you. So if you reach out, people will get back to you in due time in some kind of process. So, definitely if you're interested, you want to be involved, reach out to team owners, general managers. You're only as visible as you make yourself. So keep that in mind. Don't think that everybody's going to come calling for you. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Yep. Justin, any last words from you?
Yeah, I'm just saying, everybody who's watching this right now, always look at the player openings, because there's always, if your position is being set in the player openings, you talk to those owners and GMs and say, hey, if you have a spot for me, can you draft me, kind of a thing, and they'll talk to you and see what the deal is, and hopefully by December when all your talking's done, you'll be drafted to that team you want to be on.
Yeah, there's this statement that I've heard that for prospects trying to get out there and get in front of, or at least just getting in front of GMs and owners and things, especially during this time of people, FAs, resigning from their teams, re-signing week coming up in roughly a month or so, and then 6 or 7 games left still in the regular season of the minors. The statement is, the only stupid question is the question unasked. And so it's like, get out there. You don't know what you don't know until you ask it, right? So don't be afraid. If you need help, there's a lot of us that are willing to make introductions for you. Feel free to pick our brains. We're here. We're a great community. We support each other. We want to build each other up. And so with that, I wish you all good night, and we'll see you all on the field tomorrow. Good luck, everybody. See you later.